Axis versus Allies. Episode 2. In our last episode, we revealed Hitler's 48-hour mistake at Dunkirk. One order: halt the panzers. 338,000 Allied soldiers escaped. Britain stayed in the war. Today, we reveal another decision that changed everything. A Japanese admiral's choice that saved America from total defeat. December 7th, 1941, 10:30 a.m., Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The second wave of Japanese aircraft has just departed. Behind them, devastation. 8 battleships, destroyed or damaged. 188 aircraft, obliterated. 2,403 Americans, dead. The Pacific Fleet, crippled. But on the deck of the carrier Akagi, 6 aircraft carriers sit 200 miles north of Oahu. 167 planes, fully armed, fully fueled, ready to launch. Commander Mitsuo Fuchida, leader of the first wave, approaches Admiral Nagumo. His message is urgent. We must launch a third wave. Nagumo stares at the horizon. He has a decision to make. Launch the third wave and finish the job, or retreat. What he decides in the next 30 minutes will determine the outcome of the entire Pacific War. This is the story of the missing third wave. Let's understand what Japan has just accomplished. 7:48 a.m. First wave, 183 aircraft, 49 high-level bombers, 40 torpedo bombers, 51 dive bombers, 43 fighters. Their targets, Battleship Row. Within 30 minutes, chaos. USS Arizona, hit by an armor-piercing bomb. The bomb penetrates the forward magazine. Explosion. 1,177 men killed instantly. USS Oklahoma, hit by 5 torpedoes. She capsizes in 12 minutes. 429 men trapped inside. USS West Virginia, 7 torpedoes. USS California, 2 torpedoes, 1 bomb. USS Nevada, the only battleship to get underway, hit by 6 bombs, 1 torpedo. She runs aground to avoid sinking in the channel. 8:45 a.m. First wave departs. 8:54 a.m. Second wave arrives. 171 aircraft. They target what the first wave missed: hangars, aircraft on the ground, dry docks, repair facilities. By 10:30 a.m., it's over. The damage is catastrophic. But here's what most people don't know. The most valuable targets at Pearl Harbor are completely untouched. Pearl Harbor is not just a naval base. It's the logistical heart of the entire Pacific Fleet, and 3 critical facilities survived the attack. Target number 1, the fuel depot. Pearl Harbor stores 4.5 million barrels of oil. 4.5 million. This fuel is stored in 3 massive tank farms. Lower Tank Farm, Middle Tank Farm, Upper Tank Farm. These tanks are above ground, unprotected, vulnerable. If Japan destroys these tanks, the Pacific Fleet has no fuel. Every ship at Pearl Harbor becomes a floating museum. Admiral Chester Nimitz, who takes command of the Pacific Fleet 3 weeks later, will say this about the fuel depot. Quote, "If the Japanese had destroyed our fuel supplies, it would have prolonged the war another 2 years. Target number 2, the repair facilities. Pearl Harbor has the most advanced ship repair facilities in the Pacific. Machine shops, dry docks, cranes, welding equipment. These facilities are what allow America to salvage and repair 6 of the 8 damaged battleships. USS California, raised and repaired. USS West Virginia, raised and repaired. USS Nevada, repaired. USS Tennessee, repaired. USS Maryland, repaired. USS Pennsylvania, repaired. Without these repair facilities, those ships stay on the bottom. Target number 3, the submarine base. Pearl Harbor is home to 22 submarines. Not one is damaged. These submarines will become America's most effective weapon in the Pacific. They will sink 1,300 Japanese merchant ships, 5 million tons of shipping. They will strangle Japan's economy. All 3 targets, fuel, repairs, submarines, untouched, and Commander Fuchida knows it. 10:30 a.m. Carrier Akagi, Commander Mitsuo Fuchida, climbs out of his aircraft. He's just returned from leading the first wave. His plane is riddled with bullet holes. 21 holes. But Fuchida is alive. And he's furious. He storms across the flight deck, toward Admiral Nagumo's command post. Fuchida has been planning this attack for 11 months. He knows Pearl Harbor better than any Japanese officer alive. He knows what they missed. Fuchida enters the command post. Admiral Nagumo is there. Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, 54 years old, commander of the 1st Air Fleet. Also present, Commander Minoru Genda, the tactical genius who planned the attack. Fuchida doesn't waste time. Admiral, we must launch a 3rd wave immediately. Nagumo looks at him, says nothing. Fuchida continues. The fuel tanks, the repair facilities, the submarine base, all untouched. We have achieved tactical surprise, but not strategic victory. Give me 100 planes. 2 hours. I will finish what we started. Commander Genda nods in agreement. Fuchida is right. We must strike again while the Americans are still in chaos. Destroy the fuel depot. Destroy the repair yards. Cripple them completely. The room falls silent. All eyes on Admiral Nagumo. Admiral Nagumo walks to the window. He stares at the horizon. Behind him, his officers wait. Nagumo is not an aviator. He's a torpedo expert, a surface warfare officer. He was given command of the carrier fleet because of seniority, not expertise. And right now, he's calculating risks. Risk number 1, American carriers. Japan knows that 3 American carriers are assigned to Pearl Harbor: USS Enterprise, USS Lexington, USS Saratoga. None were in port during the attack. Where are they? Enterprise is returning from Wake Island, 200 miles west of Pearl Harbor. Lexington is near Midway Island, 400 miles northwest. Saratoga is in San Diego for repairs. But Nagumo doesn't know this. He only knows they weren't at Pearl Harbor, which means they could be anywhere. And if American carriers find his fleet, while his planes are attacking Pearl Harbor, his carriers are vulnerable. Risk number 2, aircraft losses. The first wave lost 9 aircraft. The second wave lost 20 aircraft. Total losses, 29 planes, 5%. Acceptable, but the second wave encountered heavier resistance. American anti-aircraft fire was more organized. Fighter patrols were scrambling. A third wave will face even stronger defenses. Losses could reach 15%, 20%. Japan cannot afford to lose experienced pilots. Risk number 3, the return journey. Pearl Harbor is 3,800 miles from Japan. The carrier fleet has been at sea for 12 days. Fuel is running low. Every hour they stay near Hawaii increases the risk of being detected. And if they're detected, they must fight their way home. Nagumo turns from the window. He looks at Fuchida, then at Genda. His voice is quiet. We have accomplished our mission. The American battleships are destroyed. We will not risk the carriers for secondary targets. Fuchida's face goes pale. Admiral, those are not secondary targets. Without fuel, without repairs, the Americans cannot. Nagumo raises his hand. The decision is made. Prepare to withdraw. 11:15 a.m. The Japanese carrier fleet turns north. 167 aircraft sit on the decks, armed, fueled, ready. They will never launch. The third wave is canceled. And with that decision, Admiral Nagumo saves the American Pacific Fleet. December 7th, 11:15 a.m. The Japanese carrier fleet turns north. Admiral Nagumo has made his decision. No third wave. At Pearl Harbor, the fires still burn. Black smoke rises thousands of feet into the air. Oil spreads across the harbor. Rescue teams pull survivors from the water, from capsized ships, from burning wreckage. The devastation appears total. But beneath the chaos, something remarkable is happening. America is already fighting back. 12:15 p.m., just 90 minutes after the attack ends. Rear Admiral William Furlong, commander of the battle force, issues his first order.
Salvage everything, repair everything. We fight with what we have.
Within hours, the repair facilities that Japan didn't destroy roar to life. Welders, crane operators, engineers, divers, civilian workers pour into Pearl Harbor. They work 24 hours a day. Their first target, USS Nevada. Nevada, the only battleship to get underway during the attack, is beached at Hospital Point. She's hit by 6 bombs, 1 torpedo, 60 men, dead. But her engines still work. Her hull is intact. December 14th, 7 days after the attack, USS Nevada is refloated. Temporary repairs completed. She sails to Puget Sound for full restoration. April 1942, Nevada returns to service. She will fight at Attu, at Normandy, at Iwo Jima, at Okinawa, all because the repair facilities survived. But Nevada is just the beginning. USS California, hit by 2 torpedoes, 1 bomb. She settles into the mud in 40 feet of water. March 1942. California is raised. October 1944. She returns to combat at the Battle of Surigao Strait. USS West Virginia, 7 torpedoes. She capsizes, trapping 429 men inside. May 1942. West Virginia is raised. July 1944. She rejoins the fleet at the Battle of Leyte Gulf. USS Tennessee, USS Maryland, USS Pennsylvania, all repaired, all returned to service. 6 of 8 battleships, salvaged and rebuilt. This is only possible because Japan didn't destroy the repair facilities. Admiral Chester Nimitz arrives at Pearl Harbor on December 25th, Christmas Day. He surveys the damage. Then he tours the repair yards. His chief of staff asks him a question.
Admiral, can we recover from this?
Nimitz looks at the fuel tanks in the distance. Still standing, still full. He looks at the machine shops. Still operational. He looks at the dry docks. Already working.
The Japanese made 3 mistakes. They didn't destroy our fuel, they didn't destroy our repair facilities, and they didn't destroy our submarines.
Nimitz pauses.
We will win this war.
Let's talk about the fuel. 4.5 million barrels, stored in massive above-ground tanks, completely vulnerable. If Commander Fuchida had gotten his 3rd wave, those tanks would have been his primary target. 100 planes, high explosive bombs, incendiary bombs. The fuel tanks would have erupted. The resulting fire would have been unstoppable. Millions of gallons of burning oil. The entire harbor would have become an inferno. And without that fuel, the Pacific Fleet cannot operate. Every ship at Pearl Harbor requires fuel. Every ship in the Pacific requires fuel. The nearest alternative fuel source is on the West Coast, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle. That's 2,400 miles away. Without Pearl Harbor's fuel, every American ship must return to California to refuel. Round trip, 4,800 miles. Add that to every mission. Suddenly, operations in the Central Pacific become impossible. The Marshall Islands, unreachable. The Gilbert Islands, unreachable. The Solomon Islands, unreachable. Japan gets 2 years to fortify the Pacific. Admiral Nimitz's assessment was correct. Quote, "It would have prolonged the war another 2 years. But the fuel survived, and 6 months later, that fuel will power the American fleet to Midway." Now, the submarines. 22 submarines, based at Pearl Harbor. Not one damaged. Why? Because Admiral Nagumo focused on battleships. In 1941, battleships are considered the ultimate weapon, the decisive force in naval warfare. Submarines are viewed as secondary, scouts, commerce raiders, not war winners. Japan makes a fatal miscalculation. American submarines will become the most lethal weapon in the Pacific. By the end of the war, U.S. submarines will sink 1,300 Japanese merchant ships, 5 million tons of shipping. That's 60% of Japan's entire merchant fleet. Oil tankers from the Dutch East Indies, sunk. Food transports from Southeast Asia, sunk. Troop ships to island garrisons, sunk. Japan is an island nation. Everything must come by ship. Oil, food, raw materials, reinforcements. American submarines strangled Japan's economy. By 1945, Japanese civilians are starving. Japanese factories have no raw materials. Japanese warships have no fuel. All because 22 submarines at Pearl Harbor survived. USS Wahoo, 20 ships sunk. USS Tang, 33 ships sunk. USS Flasher, 100,000 tons of Japanese shipping sent to the bottom. USS Silversides, USS Drum, USS Bowfin, names that will become legendary. And every single one operates from Pearl Harbor, refueled at Pearl Harbor, repaired at Pearl Harbor, rearmed at Pearl Harbor. If Nagumo had destroyed those facilities, these submarines would be forced to return to the West Coast, San Diego, 2,400 miles away. Instead, they patrol from Pearl Harbor, closer to Japanese shipping lanes, closer to the front lines, more time on station, more kills. Japanese Admiral Osamu Nagano will later write in his diary, quote, "Our greatest mistake at Pearl Harbor was not the battleships we sank, it was the submarines we ignored. By 1944, Japan's merchant marine is crippled. By 1945, it's destroyed. Japan is isolated, starving, dying. All because, on December 7, 1941, Admiral Nagumo said no to the third wave. Transition to Part 3. But there's more, much more, because the cancelled third wave doesn't just save Pearl Harbor. It changes the entire course of the Pacific War. So why? Why did Admiral Nagumo refuse to launch the third wave? Was he a coward? No. Was he incompetent? No. Nagumo was following doctrine. Japanese naval doctrine, in 1941, emphasizes one principle above all others: preserve the fleet. Japan is a smaller nation than America, smaller population, smaller industrial base, smaller economy. Japan cannot replace what it loses. America can. In 1941, Japan has 10 aircraft carriers. America has 7. But America is building 24 more. By 1945, America will have 99 carriers. 99. Japan knows it cannot win a long war. The only path to victory is a short war, a decisive battle. Destroy the American fleet, force a negotiated peace. That's the plan. And at Pearl Harbor, Nagumo believes he's accomplished it. 8 battleships, destroyed or damaged. The American battle line, eliminated. Mission accomplished. Why risk the carriers? Why risk the pilots? Why risk everything for fuel tanks and repair yards? Nagumo makes the conservative choice, the safe choice, and it costs Japan the war. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet. Yamamoto is the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack. He studied at Harvard. He served as naval attaché in Washington, D.C. He knows America. He knows American industrial power. He knows American determination. Before the attack, Yamamoto tells the Japanese government, quote, "I can run wild for 6 months, maybe a year. After that, I have no expectation of success. 6 months. That's all Japan has. 6 months to win the war." When Yamamoto learns that Nagumo canceled the third wave, he's furious. Yamamoto understands what Nagumo does not. Pearl Harbor is not about battleships. It's about infrastructure. It's about logistics. It's about fuel and repairs and submarines. By leaving those intact, Nagumo has given America the tools to fight back, and America will use them. December 7th, 1941, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. December 8th, Japan invades Thailand, Malaya. December 10th, Japan sinks HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Repulse. December 23rd, January 1942, Japan invades the Dutch East Indies, Burma, the Philippines. February, Singapore falls. 85,000 British and Commonwealth troops surrender. March, Java falls. Rangoon falls. April, the Philippines fall. 76,000 American and Filipino troops surrender at Bataan. In 4 months, Japan conquers an empire, from Burma to the Gilbert Islands, from the Aleutians to New Guinea. Yamamoto's 6-month window is running out, and then, June 4th, 1942, Midway, the Battle of Midway. Japan's attempt to destroy what remains of the American Pacific Fleet. 4 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, the same carriers that attacked Pearl Harbor, against 3 American carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, Yorktown, damaged at the Battle of the Coral Sea, repaired in 72 hours at Pearl Harbor. 72 hours. If Nagumo had destroyed the repair yards, Yorktown would still be in San Diego. The battle is decided in 5 minutes. American dive bombers catch the Japanese carriers, with their decks full of aircraft. Bombs rip through wooden flight decks. Fuel lines rupture. Ammunition explodes. Akagi, ablaze. Kaga, ablaze. Soryu, ablaze. By the end of the day, all 4 Japanese carriers are sinking. Japan loses 248 aircraft, 3,000 sailors and pilots. America loses 1 carrier, Yorktown, 145 aircraft, 307 men. The balance of power in the Pacific shifts forever. Japan will never recover. Why? Because those 4 carriers cannot be replaced. Japan's shipyards are building new carriers, but it takes 2 years to build a carrier, 2 years to train the pilots. Japan doesn't have 2 years. America is already building. Essex, Lexington, Bunker Hill, Wasp, 1 new carrier every month. By 1944, America has 50 carriers in the Pacific. Japan has 9. And where are these American carriers being supplied from? Pearl Harbor. Refueled at Pearl Harbor. Repaired at Pearl Harbor. Rearmed at Pearl Harbor. The fuel tanks that Nagumo didn't destroy. The repair yards that Nagumo didn't destroy. The submarine base that Nagumo didn't destroy. Every American victory in the Pacific traces back to December 7th, to the decision Admiral Nagumo made at 1:30 p.m. No third wave. Midway, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Every island, every battle, every victory. Supplied from Pearl Harbor. Yamamoto was right. Japan had 6 months, and when those 6 months ended, at Midway, the war was already lost. Not because of what happened at Midway, but because of what didn't happen at Pearl Harbor, the third wave that never came. But the story doesn't end there, because the consequences of that single decision ripple forward through the entire war. Japanese strategic failures and retreats, American industrial mobilization, factories, shipyards, an ocean of steel, task forces fueled, repaired, and rearmed from Pearl. These were the fruits of infrastructure left standing. Logistics, meeting courage, at the edge of the world. Every path to victory led through Pearl Harbor. From the darkness of December to the light of victory, a choice to preserve a fleet gave rise to a power that could not be stopped. The third wave that never came changed everything.